the vision setting activities that gave clarity on like, who are we writing this book for? What is our focus going to be? When we went through some of the questions that you asked, which involved what would other people say about you? What would a press release, rewrite your press release in advance? That really helped hone in the message that we wanted to communicate. And fast forward to today, right? We're 40,000 copies of Lead It Like Lasso.
Our thesis is the best way to drive any change is to have a clear what and why and some guardrails about how we're going to run and what goes into your vision.
Yeah.
That worked for you guys.
It did. Yeah.
So you guys wrote your own book literally and then company wise figuratively with the
Yeah.
way you guys went to
Yeah.
market. It defied all of the things that I hear people say you should do in your
Yeah.
books.
Yeah.
You build a book, da, 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 and you guys, it was interesting to me that you were both very interested in getting straight on your vision. First thing.
Oh, absolutely. So we've written 2 books, but let's talk about the process for Lead It Like Lasso first. So for first, we had started, scaled, and sold a company without a salesperson, right? And we were asked a lot about what made that successful. And when we looked back, we realized that the same thing that made me successful in a classroom, Nick successful as an exec of tech companies, that made us successful in helping team members grow and helping a company grow was all the same thing, same framework, right? So we decided to write a book about that. And there are lots of leadership books out there, and there are lots of different reasons for writing a leadership book. And many, many, many of those leadership books have sold 200 copies or fewer. And that is when you let me look at result maps and the vision exercise. And I wish I could have dug up my notebook sheet because I still have it of the day we went through the vision setting activity, because that helps you get clarity on the focus. In a leadership book on personal leadership, there are entire textbooks about this, right? There are books that the Adam Grants of the world have written that are real research based. There are books in the world that Richard Branson's have written, uh, and we needed our own take because we could not, and it's never a good idea to try to boil the ocean. But in writing a book, it's really not a good idea. So the vision setting activities that gave clarity on like, who are we writing this book for? What is our focus going to be? And in general, I would say it is true that Nick does not like, okay, we'll have like icebreaker activities, where we're asking ourselves hypothetical questions. Um, but when we went through some of the questions that you asked, which involved what would other people say about you? What would a press release, rewrite your press release in advance? That really helped hone in the message that we wanted to communicate. And fast forward to today, right? We're 40,000 copies of Lead It Like Lasso.
I want to give a little bit of context there.
Yeah.
Um, you talked about how most books sell a couple hundred copies.
Yeah.
So a publisher considers 10,000 copies break even.
Yeah.
All the publishers that we've spoken with. That's the first thing there. And then for these questions, these are all the questions in our vision builder that you can just walk through now
Yeah.
with
In the
AI.
platform. Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's right there. They're super simple and they're really fast and they're no fluff. Even though people are like,
Yeah.
oh, vision, like Nick, oh, this, here's another fluffy vision exercise. No, these are very
Yeah.
carefully curated, chosen,
Yeah.
and the output formats are carefully curated against hundreds of real world vision statements from successful companies. So that's my little plug there. But so you guys went through that.
Yeah.
What did you learn from the process?
So there are a lot of folks out there that will talk about the right way to do it, and they give you a happy path on what to do, but it doesn't help you decide what not to do. But the thing that we got best from working with you was putting the guardrails up to decide what not to do. So the whole notion of bumper pads, when you have your vision, when you have your core values, when you have your direction, it immediately streamlines what tasks are just tasks that keep you busy and not productive, as opposed to what are those high impact things that will help you track toward your vision. And I have talked to plenty of people about result maps, and I'll say this all the time. If you are basing your company growth slash KPIs around task completion, you're not necessarily going to hit your vision, because you should be tracking around how your activities are aligned to the mission and vision of the company, because that's how you're going to hit your target.
100%. We were just talking about your key learnings. How did that play out? Like, can you think of any decisions? I mean, one that you've described to me that I thought was really interesting was maybe we should make this tied somehow to Ted Lasso, because that's an interesting decision.
Oh, 100%. Um, and that was a fairly early on decision, because people loved, so it started with the idea of, like, maybe we should write a blog post around the lessons of Ted Lasso, right? So that was in the back of the mind. And then this notion of, well, we should put these lessons in a book. Our kids were college age and not necessarily listening to all the advice. So we thought, oh, if we have a published book on this, surely they will listen to their parents if they're published authors. And
I don't know
so
what you're
we
talking about. My kids quote notes when I speak.
at least when they're on the other end of recorded Zoom calls. Um, and so we were really, and we're trying to balance again, who is this for? And how can you make a leadership book fun and relatable? Because that's really what we want to do, right? We say leadership is life, and everybody is a leader and they need to learn how to lead themselves. So, oh, that's exactly what Ted Lasso did. So when you align it to a fictional TV show, you need to think about how that impacts. So we knew what we wanted to do in terms of the goals that we set out there, but it did, by aligning it to Ted Lasso, set up some guide rails for us about the lessons that we're going to include. But as I mentioned before, it more included things that we are not going to include. So you could write a leadership book for days. It could have been 600 pages long. But we knew that to make it a consumable, readable, fun book that people could walk away with something, we wanted to keep it around 200 pages. And it helped us really focus in on what are the true key elements that we should be talking about, as opposed to, let's just go grab a college textbook and talk about all 37 different leadership elements. The 48 laws of leadership, or whatever the book is. Nope, we don't have time for 48 laws of anything, because we want to make impact. And so it, by having a very clear vision, it really helped us prune it down to consumable pieces that were the most critical. And we think it starts with core values in terms of leading yourself, in terms of leading others. And so it helped us streamline the writing of the book in that regard, but also it helped us think about how we wanted to market the book in line with where we were heading.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about the evolution because I got to watch it all play out. And I remember at one point in time, I saw somebody, there's always trolls on social media. Somebody said, "Oh, it's a gimmick." Like clearly they hadn't read it, they hadn't thought about it, because that's the easy thing to say.
Yeah.
And I marvel at the decisions you guys made, having talked to you both along the process and just where this has gone, the doors it's opened, and all those things. And you said something really important about what not to do and what to say no to. I think that that is the problem with all of the productivity industry, right? And
Oh,
we were
yeah,
talking
because
about
you can
this.
always add on more tasks to do.
Yeah, it's like how much can we automate so we can do more stuff?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
all the research says, and there's a great book, I think his name's Morton Hansen. He was one of Jim Collins' researchers. He wrote a book called Great at Work and studied all these high performers. And like a lot of studies before, it showed that the gap between the top and
yeah.
even the solid people was so wide. And you would think, oh, well, they're just the workaholics. And he found no, they were the people who did something he called do less, but obsess. And it's that hyper focus on the important thing and the
Yep.
willingness to say no to everything else. I know I saw that in my career. I was very uncomfortable saying no until I got like dinged on something. And I'm like, okay. So it gave me the courage to say no because I said, I don't want to get dinged again.
Yeah.
I had like my best to date that time, my best performance year ever. But where I'm going with this is I think that's the thing. If you don't have a vision, how are you going to go do
All
all
the
the
ideas
tools?
sound like good ideas. All
Yeah.
the ideas sound like they could move the needle, but they're all moving it incrementally, and that's not what you're looking for. You need to remember that one of the things that we had as part of our, I guess, vision is that we were gonna 10x our previous business, and book that we had sold through there. So to 10x, you can't work 10 times as hard. That's a Ben Hardy book,
Mhm.
and I love that notion because I couldn't work twice as hard because in the last company, we had been working 65 to 85 hours a week. So there just is not enough time to 2x that. So to think 10x, that's super interesting. You got to be laser focused on what you're doing, and they better be high value activities because you don't have time in your day life to 10x the time. You
Yeah,
have to 10x the impact.
it reminds me like very much of it's been popularized, but it's a good quote. Um, Steve Jobs mentioned that he was as proud of the things they'd said no to as the things
Yeah,
they'd done. He
absolutely.
talked about how important it was to say no
Yeah.
and be relentless about it. And I think that also reminds me of an early interview. It was like a 60 minutes interview or something from like this. It felt
I
like it
feel
was
like
from the
I can
70s.
picture this one, I think I know, yeah.
But so this is one where he says, the job of the CEO is to create a shared vision and then just to keep hammering that vision
That
and
vision,
make
yeah,
sure everybody's aligned to it. He's like, that's the
yep,
number one job. I'm paraphrasing.
yep,
Um, um, it's an undervalued skill, and it doesn't mean you go fill in the marketing fluff vision statement. It means you've got something you can clearly explain and come back to make these decisions.
yeah.
So yeah, this is something we've now encapsulated with this great AI tool. It takes you through those same questions and then gives you the draft.
Yeah, super cool.
Why don't we just enter real quick some revenue? Why don't you put 10 million just for fun? And then the idea is you enter all these and then you get the draft.
Hey, thanks for joining us for another episode. Be sure to hit the like button below and click the subscribe button to be notified when new videos drop. Oh, and try the Company Vision AI Builder mentioned in this episode for free. Just use the link in the description. See you next time.